Welcome to the SAP Solution Manager video training. We will take a look at what Solution Manager is, its capabilities, its architecture, what are work centers, what is the typical Solution Manager landscape, and then we will go directly into the Solution Manager system and do some configuration and look at a few settings. SAP Solution Manager provides tools, content, and best practices for the complete life cycle management. It integrates central administration of SAP NetWeaver to facilitate administration tasks, and it serves as a single source of truth. It contains documentation about the system landscape and all processes and their interrelationships. It enables SAP to play a proactive role in the customer's IT setup, and SAP Active Global Support can provide continuous improvements, packages, proactive monitoring of the systems, and pass on detailed knowledge to the customer via the Solution Manager. It also has integration with third-party management tools issued by SAP partners, for example, HP Quality Center, job monitoring by Redwood, and the Wiley Interscope for troubleshooting Java related issues. SAP Solution Manager provides scenarios for all phases of the application management lifecycle across operations, implementation, and then optimization of these processes. The system monitoring serves as a centralized functionality within the SAP Solution Manager. You can use it for monitoring of core components to detect critical situations as early as possible. Alerts are transferred via agents, also possible for non-SAP system, and there is an open interface for third-party tools integration. The central system administration provides an interface for performing a collection of administrative tasks that are relevant to the defined software components. You can use the Solution Manager as a tool to provide an overview of recurring periodic admin tasks, drill down functionality to expert administration tools covering the complete solution landscape, documentation of tasks, central access to administrative systems, automated logging of activities, and reporting across the whole solution. So while we won't be going through each of these elements in detail, this slide gives you a top level overview of all the ALM scenarios, application lifecycle management scenarios, that Solution Manager may be used for. SAP Solution Manager extensively uses the concept of work centers. This is essentially a concept borrowed from SAP CRM. What are work centers? They are essentially tabs on a web browser that make navigation very easy for a person who's not trained. They provide a tailored and role-based user environment to simplify your work. Work centers are easy to learn by using common structures and content elements, and they improve collaboration through common inboxes, work lists, and status management. Some key things to note is that a user can have more than one role, and a role can have more than one work center. So when we look at the system, we will look at how work centers appear to a user and how to work with them, and also how to configure them. This is the typical architecture of the Solution Manager. As we mentioned earlier, at the core of the Solution Manager is a CRM essentially, from which it has borrowed the concept of work centers. And then you have some standalone engines which are not really integrated into the Java or the ABAP stack but are standalone. And then these are the managed systems. Solution Manager runs on top of a NetWeaver 7 dual stack. Dual as in it has Java as well as ABAP. It collects and aggregates data sent by the agents which run on the managed systems. The amount of data, size and frequency sent by these agents to Solution Manager usually determines the performance of the system. SAP BW is integrated within the Solution Manager and is used to provide the infrastructure for data warehousing of the following scenarios: the root cause analysis scenario, test management scenario, system monitoring and solution monitoring scenario, and SAP engagement and service delivery scenario. These standalone engines of SAP Solution Manager are additional installable software units. They do not run as AS ABAP or AS Java, and the following engines are available as standalone engines. So the first one is CA Computer Associates Wiley Introscope. Then you have Load Runner by HP, used for testing. You also have SAP Productivity Pack by RWD Systems, which is not shown here in the figure. And then you have the T-Rex engine. So this is what a typical Solution Manager landscape looks like. This is the Solution Manager as we saw in the earlier slide. A bit more details provided here. And this talks via RFC protocol with the managed systems. RFC is essentially a remote function call or a procedure for data interchange between a client and a server. The Solution Manager is connected via RFCs or direct server accesses to the managed systems, mostly for read-only access. You also have trusted RFCs, wherein passwords are no longer sent for logging on to the trusting system. Then you have the HTTP protocol, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is a communication protocol for the transfer of information on the intranet and the World Wide Web. HTTP connection converts the request connection to a transparent TCP IP tunnel, usually to facilitate encrypted communication through an unencrypted HTTP proxy. The P4 is a distributed peer-to-peer network protocol. Then you have the SLD, an important concept from a Solution Manager perspective. SLD is essentially the system landscape directory that stores all information about SAP system landscape regarding all the products and software components of the used systems. So the Java stack, ABAP, database, operating system, support pack status, etc. And it also stores information about third-party or customers' own specific non-SAP components. The SMD agent that we saw earlier is an own instance on a physical or virtual host collecting performance information of the hosts, which can be Java or ABAP or both. And when the managed system is a 7.10 or higher system and the SLD is based on NetWeaver 7, a local SLD is required in addition to the central SLD for Solution Manager to work. So how many Solution Manager systems do you typically need? This depends on the following two questions. What does your Solution Manager landscape look like, and what are the scenarios that need to run on the Solution Manager? So let's look at the first question first. A single system landscape or a single tier landscape. With this option, development, testing and production operations all run in parallel in just one system. The advantage is mainly in the reduction of hardware and support costs. However, this option has some serious problems and risks. All activities have to be done in one system. In addition, new support packages and SAP notes are applied directly into your production managed systems. The two-tier landscape. Test and training are now separated. New requirements, optimization of tasks, and support packages and notes are also done in the development environment first. This approach leads to a more stable system and provides a higher quality support infrastructure for the customer. And then you have the three-tier landscape. With this option, all the development, training, test and production activities are fully segregated along with the data in dedicated systems. In addition, if the customer is using scenarios such as change request management or making many customizing changes to SAP Solution Manager, a separate test system is essential to fully validate these changes. SAP recommends running all scenarios on the same SAP Solution Manager system. The SAP Solution Manager scenarios like change request management, root cause analysis and so on should be all executed on a single system. The reason for this is that it is best to have all solution information as well as messages accessible to the entire support organization for the most efficient management of the production solution. So this three-tier landscape is the one that is recommended. Also, in some customer situations, multiple productive SAP Solution Manager systems have been used where there is a full segregation of business units. This approach may limit the collaboration between these business units, but some customers have implemented separate solutions for their business units, which allows for more open sharing of process and message information between the different units while still providing security through authorizations. So these are some of the considerations that need to be kept in mind while deciding how many solution manager systems does the business need. So let us see what a solution manager looks like in reality as a real live system. So I log on. And as you can see, a solution manager system is very much like a standard look and feel of a standard SAP GUI. In a CRM or a ECC system, it's got the same transaction based access to various functionalities, and it's got the same favorite structure and a standard SAP menu as well. So we'll first look at the work centers about which we have spoken and talked about. So the transaction is solman underscore work center, and then I have to log in here again, essentially the same login that I used earlier. And the system is generating the view. Now you can see the different tabs that we spoke about are all available here. These are all work centers that based on your user authorization you will have access to. And another thing, you notice that this work center view is available from within the SAP GUI. I can also launch this view as a standalone in a browser, and we'll probably look at that later in the course. But this view can be launched within the GUI or outside the GUI as an independent view. So typically when a user logs in, the first tab is My Home, where the user can see the different alerts, results from business process monitoring and various other functionalities that have been implemented. So those of you who are familiar with CRM will immediately notice that this is identical concept wise to the CRM work center view. So we'll take a look at how do you do configuration for Solution Manager. Now configuration is a big topic, so we will simply look at a few of the configuration steps, especially around the initial installation and the basic configuration. So the first thing you do is to go to transaction SM59, and what this will help us to check is whether the connections are available and are open or not. So we will look at the ABAP connection first. So you have the ABAP connection, and let's see if the connection with OSS, which is SAP's online support, is open or not. So I double click on this and I get the details, and then I can do a connection test. Now this is an IDIS system, so it should not really be connected to the SAP's OSS systems, and as expected there is no connection. But if you have a live system, you should be able to do a remote connection and a remote login to make sure that SAP can access your solution manager and thus your related productive systems. If your system has been set up properly, then solution manager system should be part of the system landscape. So let's see if that is true using transaction SMSY. So I go to the landscape components here and look at the systems that are there. If I expand this, I see that my system solution manager does exist, and SL2, which is my system here, SL2 is part of my system landscape. Let us now take a look at initial configuration of Solution Manager. So like for any other system, this is done in customizing SPRO. I go to reference IMG, and this is my Solution Manager. The IMG gives you access to all activities that you need to configure your Solution Manager. Since the Solution Manager is based on SAP NetWeaver and CRM, this includes activities for customer relationship management and SAP NetWeaver. The IMG tree contains all basic settings and scenario-specific settings for your Solution Manager. And the Solution Manager has a guided procedure to do the basic settings in an orderly manner so that nothing is missed out and it is easy to do the whole configuration. So this is my guided procedure. What this will do is take me to a web URL. As you can see here, what the system is trying to do is to launch it in an Internet Explorer, and I get the message, you're calling this website with a browser that is not supported, because on the system Internet Explorer is a very old version that isn't currently supported. So I simply take this URL and launch it in Firefox. So this is my Firefox, and I launch the same URL. If Firefox is your default browser, you will not really have to do this, what I've just done, but it just serves to show that not all browsers and not all versions are supported. And then I log on. So this is the view of my Solution Manager configuration. These are all the tabs I need to go through. So if I go to basic configuration, I get my guided procedure for carrying out different tasks. Some of these steps in the initial basic configuration we've seen before, like transaction SMSY, to check whether the Solution Manager figures in the system landscape, and the OSS connection test with SAP. So all those are covered as part of basic system preparation. So you have to create users like Solman admin users, SMD admin, and so on, and then various checks for the installation, installing of the latest SAP nodes, configuration of the ABAP server, and so on. And then once that is complete, you move on to the basic configuration where you specify the project. And this is a standard project that has to be defined, and this enables the solution manager to be configured. This has already been done in our system, and the solman_con project has been created. And then you specify the users. So we've got different users in the system and their status, and you get a log with several message depending on what's happened to the user creation process. And then you specify connectivity data. Now this is a test system, and at the moment it doesn't have any connections with the other systems, but if it did, you would find the information here. So the OSS connection has been created, but the connection isn't on yet. So now we have a quick look at the manage system configuration step here. In this step, you can configure an ABAP or a non-ABAP system. In the case of an ABAP system, you can also create RFC connections. So I see that under the technical scenarios, there are no scenarios maintained. So I just try to create one, and I get this error message. This specific app is not active. So I need to now go back to my system and to the right tree. I see that this is the app which I need to activate. So I activate the service, and then I go back and I'll give it another shot now. So create scenario, here it is. I need to enter my name, select the system, define attributes, and then I can create the scenario. If I do not enter the name, I get these errors. So let's have a look at some of these related links. We've had a very quick look at overview, system prep, basic config, manage system configuration. And now let's have a quick look at these links. So configuration, technical scenario wizard. Herein I can basically create my own scenario, and the last time we saw this we had chosen dual stack scenario, but I can say connection monitoring or PI monitoring or self monitoring or anything else here. I can do my service connections check-in. At the moment there are no systems connected to SAP support portal. I can do the solution manager administration. So different options here. Let's go to landscape and check what solutions have already been configured. So you see different users have configured different solutions, and I can go and check my details. So these are the details of my solution ERP. I can look at the projects that have been set up. So this is what the solution manager administration allows me to do. The landscape browser we've just seen. I think we need to activate another service here, which we can do like we did earlier, going to SICF. We won't do that now though. and you can see the results of your self-diagnostics if you set them up in this window. So these are some of the main configuration settings in Solution Manager, some of the key transactions. So hopefully you got a good overview of what Solution Manager is all about and some quick steps on how to configure it, what are the key activities involved, and the functionality of some of the key transactions and configuration.